to part 4 of algorithms in advertising. We're going to call this one Status Quo and Beyond. We're going to bring together what we covered in the first 3 episodes, talk about what usually happens and what could happen with more control over the advertising algorithm. So remember, we started with the tension between brand advertising and direct response advertising, and then we let that play out. So in the last episode, Prediction Machines, we covered an autopilot that's driving with a lot of power and intention behind it to maximize the near-term conversion volume, right? It's looking at every prospect saying, is this likely to be a conversion? Yes, bid. No, don't bid. And then we have a marketer vision that had a lot of aspects of the brand marketing model, right? It had large audiences and the expectation of reach within those large audiences. And we even saw in the human algorithm, if you caught it, a very fruitful nod to the brand advertising model, where to improve performance in time to hit the CPA by goal, the human operator improved the reach of the larger audience campaigns, which improved their conversion rate, like the brand advertising model says. So we had really a missed opportunity there to play more into the marketer vision. The algorithm is relentlessly looking for near-term conversions. So the question not asked is, well, what if we did more on that reach effect? Like, we saw that when we reached more into the big audience of category buyers, we found some who did become customers near term. And according to the brand advertising predictive model, there's even more in there who will be customers over the long term. So since we're working with a very powerful predictive machine, shouldn't we be able to look into the features of who we made aware among category buyers that became customers in the short term? And by extending that, look who will become customers in the long term. So this is very different than what platform algorithms do today. And one of the big reasons why advertisers are turning to custom algorithms, and why when they do, they tend to get very powerful results, because it is entirely possible to model the audience that becomes aware as a result of seeing an ad, and then to predict which of the customers who become aware will eventually become customers over the long term. So this would serve the marketer's vision of long-term brand health, filling the funnel and continued sales, while having some potential to maintain some of that DR efficiency, cost minimization that the platform algorithm tends to favor. Now, the way that this is done is very different than the way machine and human algorithms normally operate. So in the status quo, the lookalike model is created very soon after a campaign launches, if not before you've even started advertising. So in our back to school example, there's probably some existing audience of parents who will constitute our back to school purchase audience. And once you've started with that, then you've foreclosed on the ability to find out who will respond to our backpack ad, right? Because who will respond to our backpack ad can only be known after you've served some backpack ads. So it's a much different way of operating, would be to serve ads without a predictive model, gather data on who becomes aware, which is most likely going to be done through surveys, and introduces issues of data scarcity, which will pretty much rule out small advertisers from this custom algorithm procedure, but then model on that and improve the campaign while it's running based on a lookalike model of who becomes aware, which could then be extended into who becomes a customer as a result of their awareness over the long term. So we have this illustrated here to show what it looks like compared to the status quo. Right? If you go into market, and we learned this doing political advertising, but it's true of backpacks, phones, and anything else you might advertise, is that the pre-existing propensity to do something is going to gather on two poles, right? There's a propensity to buy in your category and the propensity to not buy in your category. Those will jump out of the data because that data is very visible in conversion data, click data, and social engagement data, right? So for the Democratic Party, the people who engage with the Democratic Party's ads either love the Democrats or hate the Democrats. The audience they want to build of people who could be swayed by their ads, in politics called the persuadable audience, and brand advertising called the movable middle, can only be identified by gathering data on them and then building a custom model on that. Now, some advertisers say, we do build a model of who will be swayed by our advertising. And again, that's usually done by brand data scientists before they launch. And it might be useful, but it doesn't capture how the market is changing, how the ad actually lands when it hits a large audience, and it doesn't capture very important features of any lookalike model, especially frequency, how many ads people see, the creative variation and the geography, the time of day, the site or program that ad is landing on, right? All these things are very important features on who actually gets influenced by advertising. So if we are building a model on the propensity to change a survey response as a result of seeing the ad, right? So these models would have to be based on how people answer a survey if they're unexposed to the ad, and how people respond to a survey if they're not exposed to the ad, and then making a model on the difference. So if someone doesn't care about the ad, right, they'd be scored a 0. It's the same whether they saw it or not. And if people were already influenced by the ad, they will also score a 0, right? That additional impressions show no change. So this is very powerful. You get to build a model of the movable middle, and best of all, in digital and custom algorithms, you get to really see inside this model and learn a lot about who is moved by the ads. These are very interesting results. This is a new thing that's going on in the custom algorithm category that didn't exist before. And what's exciting is to find out that most of the models we had for given audiences are just wrong. So we'll use these images as an example to say, advertising agencies today, if they're supposed to advertise milk, are given an audience of milk buyers, are told to target an audience of milk buyers that's based on static data model that's not actually running against the advertising. And when you actually run the advertising and model on where this ad is actually working according to data, it's always different. It's almost always more diverse, and it almost always includes surprises along demographic, geographic, and technographic axes that the marketer wouldn't have guessed at, and that it's worthwhile to try to understand and explain, right? The actual effect of creative in market is much different than the expected effect. And that's why it is very, very valuable to make algorithms on this actual effect of ads in market. And the technology has only been fast enough for a couple of years, than to work entirely with static pre-made models that have a lot of built-in assumptions about the ad and the audience and the features of exposure. So that's part 4. Feel free to email me with questions at adam@chalice.ai, and we'll be back with episode 5.